Welcome to Love, Dream, Live, your source of life lessons that inspire you to love intensely, dream relentlessly, and live passionately. Our goal is to help you create harmony in your work, personal life, and self-discovery journey. Welcome your host, Aida, with today's topic.
Thank you for tuning in today. Today's topic is titled From Fear to Faith. And mainly I'm going to be talking about how we must exhaust our ego in order to awaken our soul. So in order for us to move from a state of fear to a state of faith, we must exhaust our ego and get to the bottom of it. And eventually from there, we're going to find our soul and that unstoppable and unbreakable part of ourselves that has faith, that has love, and that enables us to unlock and open doors of new possibilities in our lives. So some of this advice might not sound good, might not sound like a really good idea on the surface, because I'm going to pretty much tell you that you need to feel your fear. In order for you to find faith, you need to feel your fear. It's almost like fear is a giant bucket. And until that bucket is depleted, at the very, very, very bottom of that fear, there's actually faith. But you have to empty the bucket of fear in order to get to the very, very bottom and to experience that faith. There's no shortcut. There is no way to experience faith if you don't actually face your fear first. I'm going to say that one more time. Face your fear first. Feel your fear. Go through it. Let it consume you. Allow the negative thoughts, allow the negative emotions to flow through you. And if you have to cry, then cry. And if you have to punch the wall, then punch the wall. And if you feel angry, then feel angry. Allow yourself to feel negative emotions. Allow yourself to have bad days. Allow yourself to do this as long as you need to. Because this is the only way you'll be able to heal and experience relief and find yourself to the level that you can actually find that faith that's at the very, very bottom of everything you're going through. So don't fight it. Don't resist it. Just allow it to go through you. And make sure that you take the time that you need. If you need a whole week, then take a whole week. If you need a whole month, a whole year, take however long you need to express your fear, express your negative emotions and your thoughts and your feelings, and allow them to go through you and allow them to get out. Because a lot of times we bottle our emotions up so much that it just creates more fear, more insecurity, more frustration, and eventually there is no way to find faith when you live in fear. So allow it to go through you, allow it to get you tired, and if you feel exhausted and restless, then that's a good sign. It means that you're getting rid of a lot of your fear. And until you get to the very bottom of your fear, then you're not going to be able to find any faith in yourself, in your life, in your future. So there is no shortcut. You have to clear your fear before you can actually find faith. And going through the process of healing yourself from emotions and relationships and experiences that are hurtful is going to be a process that you need to go through in order to create that open space. And everything that takes up space in your bucket of fear right now is almost like a heavy stone that is filling your bucket. And each of those heavy stones are going to keep your fear full. And until you resolve each and every one of those things and try to heal through it, then you're never going to find that faith at the very bottom, because it's at the very bottom of all of these stones. And depending on how many stones you have, which I think a lot of us have a lot, then it's going to take some time to clear through it. But without doing this, then you're not going to be able to move from fear to faith. So eventually, whenever you are starting to clear up the space, you're going to start noticing more space in your life for peace, for faith, for clarity. And at first, I'm going to just say this because this is something I experienced when I was going through the process, is that the empty space is really scary. It's almost like, wait, there used to be fear. Now there's emptiness here. Why is there emptiness? I want fear instead of an empty space. space. But you have to be very comfortable with empty space in order for you to be able to overcome a lot of these fears. A lot of empty space is going to leave you feeling a little bit anxious at first because you're like, wow, this is usually filled with fear. But whenever this fear starts to dissolve, it leaves a lot of space. And you're highly aware of this empty space. And it's uncomfortable, but you have to be okay with the empty space, with the emptiness, or else you're not going to be able to fill it later on with happiness and joy. And I think a lot of people's first instinct is to fill the empty space. Like, a lot of this fear is gone, so let me go ahead and fill the empty space with friends or with a new relationship or a new job. But whenever you start doing that, you start filling the empty space of your fear with other things that eventually are replacing the fear instead of allowing yourself to take the time to breathe, give yourself the room, and be okay with experiencing empty space. This is a necessary part of the process, or else you're going to kind of find yourself making new space for new things and trying to fill it up as soon as it becomes available, and it's just going to create more work and more hard times and struggle for you. So this is a really challenging process because it makes you face your fears and it makes you have to be comfortable with emptiness. And I think a part of that is just realizing that emptiness and openness and space is better than having fear. And I don't think that it sounds like it is, but it really is. It's much better to have empty space than to have a bucket full of fear. And I guess sometimes you can look at it, geez, at least my bucket was full, but it was full of fear. Would you rather have an empty bucket or a bucket full of fear? And I think the fact that the bucket contains anything at all is somewhat relieving to people. So they're like, I'd rather have fear than have nothing. And that's actually a way that we self-sabotage ourselves, that we keep ourselves living in fear, that we keep ourselves in lower vibrational frequencies by not only being afraid to face our fear, but by also being wise enough to realize that we're opening up space, that even though it feels empty, that even though it feels uncomfortable, eventually we're going to fill our bucket with joy and happiness and love and dreams, and just living a life of happiness and excitement by simply listening to ourselves and living out our fears, however bad they might seem, and being able to have the strength and courage to face them directly and say, hey, I'm aware that you are a fear, but I'm going to punch you in the face and you're going to be gone. And you're going to be gone, and I'm going to create this space for better situations, better people, and better life circumstances. And until you have enough strength and courage to do that, then your fears are always going to overpower you. And really what it takes is having so much fear that it pushes you to the edge, that there is no way to move forward unless you clear some of your fear. And this is not a process that is going to be for the faint at heart. This is going to take some serious work and serious commitment, because basically what we're doing is we're exhausting our ego. All of our fear comes from our ego. And as soon as that is emptied, then it allows us to discover the deeper part of ourselves. But while the ego is full of fear, full of insecurities, and it's going to keep like trying to survive, trying to live defensively, covering yourself, protecting yourself from hurt, from getting close to people, and a lot of that is just fear. So we must exhaust the ego in order to awaken a deeper part of ourselves that's unbreakable, that's untouchable, that will find a way no matter what. So a lot of this process is about taking the hard part of yourself and trying to soften it up and trying to create space for soft, better things to come into your life. And moving from fear to faith is not going to be a simple process, but it will be a door that opens up a lot of possibilities in your life that you never thought were possible. Because somewhere, I don't remember where I read this, but it is completely normal for the human part of yourself for your ego to reject and resist your soul's deepest desires. So I think that's a big catch. It's like, so your humanity, your ego, your physical self will reject your soul's deepest needs and deepest desires. And so that's why moving from fear to faith is really important. And if you don't do this, and if you don't go through the process, then you're going to always be like struggling in life and feeling stuck and unhappy. Is because a lot of your fear in your mind is holding you back from your truest and deepest desires in your heart. It's almost like a catch-22. Your mind's job is to keep your heart quiet. So if you don't quiet your mind enough to listen to your heart, then you're never going to be able to follow your heart and follow your bliss and find your truest passion, because your mind is going to always be in the way. Your ego is always going to say, no, you can't do this. No, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not rich enough. You're not blank enough. Insert whatever thing you want to in there. It's always going to do that. Your mind's job is to keep you away from your truest and deepest desires in your heart. And if you don't try to make the effort of moving from fear to faith, then you're going to continue to feel unhappy, unfulfilled, frustrated, tired, mad, angry, upset, and all the different negative emotions that come from the consistent tug of war of trying to listen to your mind or trying to listen to your heart. And this can be an endless inner battle. So the main message today is to face your fears. Start small. Start with a small fear and face your fears. Because even if you have a giant bucket full of fears right now, and if you start with small little ones, eventually you're going to get to the very bottom. And at the very bottom of all of your fear is faith, strength, courage, determination, a very unstoppable, unbreakable part of yourself that you probably have not been able to find because it's buried under all these rocks. So I encourage you to exhaust your ego and awaken your soul and be more open to living a happier, more fulfilling life by clearing your fear, by facing your fear, by getting to the very bottom of your fear and being comfortable with that empty space that you're creating for more happiness and joy and abundance and love and wonder in your life. I hope this helps you move from fear to faith. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with a friend. Visit lovedreamlive.com for more. And remember to stop waiting. Decide to choose yourself. You can experience unconditional love, create the life of your dreams, and live in harmony and abundance every single day. See you again soon.